adage states that we shy away from what we do not know. That is certainly the case in our society today when regarding homelessness and the people who are affected by it. In addition to being socially isolated from the rest of the world, the homeless population suffers from widespread discrimination ranging from difficulty finding employment or new housing to criminalization of their activities and direct physical and verbal abuse. Incorrect myths and stereotypes surround the individuals of the homeless population, making it hard for them to recover from what they face. William Baldwin said, "Clearly there are 1,001 scenarios for how someone can slip through the cracks. I'll walk down the street and see a homeless person and I want to stop them and say, 'How did this happen? Where's your mother? Are you physically or mentally ill?' This confirms the fact that people assume because someone is homeless, it is due to mental illness, addiction, or bad work ethic. That is not always the case. The most common stereotype regarding the homeless population is that they do not work and get most of their money from public assistance programs. The majority of people in our society believe that the homeless population consists of bums who are living off of welfare programs provided by responsible taxpayers. Where that may be true in certain situations, it is not the case all across the board. A nationwide study by the Urban Institute found that only 20% of the homeless population received financial assistance from the government. 39% of remaining individuals that had been interviewed in this study reported having worked for some length of time during the previous month. Economically speaking, homelessness can be attributed to several factors: unavailability of employment opportunities, forced eviction, and mortgage foreclosures caused by the rising cost of living. These facts, when realized and recognized, should debunk the beliefs that the majority of Americans have regarding the work ethic of those living on the streets and in shelters. An ongoing belief regarding the homeless population is that it is caused by the individual's addictions to drugs and alcohol. Although the homeless population represents an extensive number of people experiencing addiction, the issue cannot be explained as the sole cause of an increase in homelessness within the past 2 decades. Contrary to popular belief, homeless people do not compose the majority of addicts in the United States. James Wright of Tulane University has studied the prevalence of alcohol and drug abuse among the homeless population. He has observed that only 38% of homeless people are alcohol abusers, as opposed to 10% of the general population. He furthermore finds that 13% of homeless people are drug abusers. According to the National Coalition for the Homeless, the majority of individuals suffering from addiction acquire the problem subsequent to becoming homeless. This proves that impoverishment is not necessarily a product of addiction. However, people who must juggle very low income along with their addictive disorders are clearly at risk of falling into a poverty-stricken rut that they cannot get out of. The common belief of present-day culture is that homeless people must be suffering from some sort of mental illness. When you see an elderly man pacing back and forth on a sidewalk downtown, you automatically think, what is wrong with him? Unfortunately, when we ask ourselves this question, we are not concerned with such man's physical ailments, but more so with his mental condition. We think that because they are living in a way we cannot possibly understand, they must be crazy. The National Symposium on Homeless Research sheds light on homelessness and mental illness, indicating that roughly 20% of homeless people suffer from some sort of mental illness, leaving 80% of the homeless population without any kind of abnormal condition. In previous studies, a belief among statisticians was that deinstitutionalization, the process of replacing long-stay mental institutions with less isolated community mental health services, was the cause for the older generation of homeless individuals in the United States. Despite the number of mentally ill people among the homeless population, the growth in homelessness is not accredited to the release of seriously mentally ill people from institutions. Most patients were released from mental hospitals in the 50s and 60s, but a surge in homelessness did not occur until the 80s when lower-income housing and options for those people living under poverty level became less available. Until we are put into the position of living homeless, we will never fully understand its causes or what it entails. A society based on materialism and capitalism, we subconsciously believe that there must be something seriously wrong with individuals who live below the poverty level, whether it be by choice or as a result of shortcomings. Whereas some stereotypes may have a bit of truth to them, the majority of falsehoods regarding the homeless population are brought on by ignorance and the reluctance to get to know the people around us. Often enough, we treat homeless men, women, and children as lesser people simply because they are less fortunate, when we should really be focusing on how to help their situations improve.